time for another Elsie's Little Pickles, the pickle pod for the people, reminding you to not give up on that pickle protest. Give a MAGA supporter a pickle on their porch, take a picture of it, and send it to us here at Elsie's Little Pickles at gmail.com.
Pickle porch pegging.
Call it what? Pickle porch?
Pickle porch pegging.
Pickle porch pegging.
Even better, put it on one of those like long toothpicks and stick it in the ground next to their American flag.
And maybe have a couple of olives underneath, so that it really looks legit. All right. God damn it. Right out of the fucking gate.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Trump was in Michigan today, celebrating his 100 days and saying...
Is that what I was smelling?
Yeah. That's exactly
80-year low for approval rating.
And he came out and said,
insane.
Ever. Since polling began.
Yeah, and here's the crazy shit, right? He literally said the best 100 days of any president ever, first 100 days, the best. Everyone's saying it. No one's saying it. No one is saying it.
In true fascist fashion, truth are lies, lies are truth.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, newspeak.
He couldn't even, in that CBS interview, he couldn't even, I don't know if you guys saw the clip of this, but he couldn't even admit, the guy goes, do you have 100% faith in Pete Hegseth? And he goes, well, first off, anyone who says they have 100% faith in anything is lying. Okay, well, you're the biggest liar on the fucking planet, so why don't you tell us how much you have 100% fucking faith in him? And then he goes on to say, I don't even have 100% faith that this interview is going to be completed. And the guy goes, we're going to complete it.
This is coming from a man who just said to a reporter that he's, what's the word I'm looking for? Negotiated with 200 countries.
Yeah, and none of that's true. And
in 100 days, sure. Really, in 60 since the tariffs.
100% done.
Sure it is.
There's not one deal done. And the closest he's got is India.
There's not even 200 countries.
Well, even if, there are.
President Modi.
But not that have tariffs. I mean, there's more. There's what? I don't even know how many countries. It's like 227.
Has pointed out, it would be 200 countries if they included Estonia, Neverland, Middle Earth,
Asgard.
It's, I know people think that we're just trying to, troll Trump or whatever, but it's not the case.
There's a healthy dose of that.
There is a healthy dose of that, but this is what he is literally saying to people. And it's just bullshit.
I'm doing the forehead white because, yeah, sure. Everybody is trolling Trump. You know why? Because this is coming out of the White House, a seat that is supposed to be respected.
Right.
How can you respect this?
It's supposed to be the most powerful office in the world, and Trump has single-handedly gotten rid of that as the status quo.
There's just no respect. I mean, when you have other countries what?
In my head, when I hear Trump say something incredibly stupid, I hear Bill Clinton's high-pitched giggle. Remember that back in the day?
Not really, no.
No?
No.
Oh, yeah. He's got the world's greatest laugh.
I remember him laughing. I don't remember a high-pitched giggle, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look it up.
I will.
Do yourself a favor.
I am going to.
Look up on YouTube, Bill Clinton giggling.
I will. That'll be the first thing I do after we get done recording.
Watch this drive.
Watch it.
Oh, shit. Oh, that was beautiful, buddy.
You know what I'm sad about? That we will never be able to stick Trump and O.J. Simpson out on the golf course together.
Oh, that would have been fucking amazing.
I'm sure they had a round or two at some point.
They call me Juice.
All right.
You're the juice. I'm the orange.
See, that would have been their golf kingdom. Not orange juice, because that would have made sense. It would have been backwards because they're both idiots. We're juice orange.
Yeah, it would have been that way.
Good job, guys.
All
Good
right.
job.
I guess it's time. Here's Keith with the news.
Oh, and the White House blasts Amazon for hostile and political act amid the confusion over tariff pricing. Granted, Trump can't tell you what the tariff pricing is. You just have to watch.
Well, yeah, because consumer transparency is illegal now.
Well, not completely, because Temu and one of the other Chinese companies are putting that on the bill. They're actually saying that, if you buy something for X amount and then you got, your tax, the price of the
It's itemized.
Yeah, it's an itemized bill. So it'll say the price of the item, it'll say the tax, and then it'll say free shipping. And then
but because it's a Chinese company, Trump can't
control
effectively pressure that.
Exactly. He can't control that. But
Amazon, he can put the screws to Bezos.
Right. But what that shows, in my opinion, is that we're dealing with a mob mentality president. He gets wind of this from one of his advisors, and it's like Don Corleone.
This is what it's going to be. See,
yeah,
I'm going to put some extra tariffs. See,
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
He'll try to refuse it. It'll be unrefusable. There will be no refuse.
It'll be a beautiful deal.
The best deal that has ever been done as far as deals go.
It's just too easy. I'm going to try to ease up on the Trump impressions for the rest of the episode. I front-loaded them.
Oh, well. You know what? I always enjoy it.
As opposed to Trump backloading his diaper.
Yes. All right. So, yeah, I think that Amazon, apparently he called Bezos, and Bezos was backing down immediately. He's like, no, we're not doing that. Obviously they were.
Yeah,
obviously they were thinking about it, even if they weren't going to do it.
He said it was a part of only Amazon Haul, which is their version of Temu.
Well, I mean, regardless, they were thinking of doing it, and now they're trying to make it sound like they were never thinking of doing it because they got afraid, because they know that Trump, being the dictator that he is, will come after them in some form or fashion, and if nothing else, is just going to make life miserable or put them in a position, and not that they can't afford it, but put them in a position of constantly being in court.
Mm-hmm.
For 4 years, who fucking wants to deal with that?
Right. Quick sidebar on Amazon. Did either of you see, fuck Bezos and fuck Amazon. I refuse to purchase from Amazon unless absolutely necessary.
Time.
I refuse. Unless I can only get it from Amazon, I'm getting it somewhere else. But one thing that I think is interesting is that Amazon is coming out with a new electric truck that is fully modular. Yep. So you can buy the add-ons and make it into an SUV. You can buy the add-ons and make it into like a heavy-duty pickup truck, and so on and so forth.
Before you go any further,
yeah,
Steve, how much do you think this truck is?
I was just getting there.
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh,
I haven't heard this story.
Just take a stab of this electric pickup.
Base price without any add-ons. What do you think?
I'm going to go with $20,000.
Exactly.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
The only reason I say that is because at that point, you're only talking about essentially a chassis with batteries.
A battery, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, not to say that the batteries aren't expensive. That's why I went with $20,000, because even for like a little electric scooter, a replacement battery is like $700. So,
yeah. But yeah, I'm interested. I want to kind of see how that goes. They're already taking pre-orders for like, I think it's only $50 to pre-order.
So is this his way of kind of going after Elon?
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he can't fully go after Elon though, because he's using the Tesla patented charging port. So he will be paying royalties to Tesla.
For
that. But
still,
yeah, I mean it's intriguing. It's interesting.
Well, those two seem to have always been in a bit of a cock-waving fight between the two of them.
The important thing, though, to remember about Bezos is, having worked for Amazon, I can tell you, when he sees something he likes, he'll find a way to take it. He just does. He point an order. He took a tour of a factory who made a product called Kiva, which was an automated system of moving parts around a warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at it, was like, how much do you want for that? And the company was like, This is strictly in-house. We made this for us, so it's actually not for sale. So he bought the company, put them out of work, and took their design.
Yeah, which is why he's a raging asshole. His whole business model is undercut the market, whatever that market is, until all of the smaller companies are either bought out by Amazon or go under.
And then
once that happens, once he has a monopoly, essentially, hike up the prices.
Yeah, but that's just, I mean, that's business. You know what I mean? I hate to say it, you know, because
that's not business. That's capitalism.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's just the way it's always been. You know,
that doesn't mean it has to continue being that way.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm simply saying
I digress.
There's not much you can do about something that's been the case since fucking Egyptians were trading pinto fucking beans or whatever the fuck they traded.
No. Capitalism came around in full swing in the 1800s.
Well, capitalism
there's always been markets. There's always been markets, but capitalism.
The idea of I've got enough money to take what you have away from you has been around since the beginning of time. As soon as I don't care if it was, I have more beaver pelts than anyone else in the fucking world. I'm going to use my beaver pelt fucking savings, and I'm going to put you out of business with your fucking bearskin business. You know,
in true fashion, my ancestors, the Scandinavians, the Norwegians, the Northmen, if you will, they used to do something called Viking. Viking is not a
It's culture. A verb.
It's a verb. But they learned that they no longer had to attack other people and take whatever they wanted.
Because it makes more sense to trade.
Yeah, it makes more sense to trade. Yeah. That's what led to the disappearance of the Viking. Wasn't dying on a field of battle. It was, I got a lot of this. What will you give me for it?
Yeah, exactly.
But also, what did Scandinavia have a lot of? Snow and ice.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why they went after England. And once they were in
the people who were Viking brought back a lot of Irish people, and their entire job was make a farm. You people are great at farming.
Yeah,
grow a shit.
Was it
check out all this permafrost, make a farm out of it.
But was that like done as slavery, or was that done like no? We just
initially, yeah.
That is hotly contested because yes, Vikings took slaves. However, you could work your way out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it difficult
for the village.
I find it difficult to believe that, you know, Irishmen being as eager to get drunk and fight as they are would allow anyone to make them do anything that they didn't want to do.
Darn!
They hadn't
Take me
invented
someplace where
yet.
we drink and fight.
Yeah, exactly.
They hadn't invented whiskey yet. So
no. But they still had. There was still drinking, especially in you know the northern areas.
Yeah.
You know they had mead. You know,
yeah, mead.
Is it any wonder
beer.
Northmen and Irishmen got along so well?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
After the raping and pillaging and establishing Dublinia.
Yeah. Then they said, okay, look,
we're like going to rape the horses and ride off on the women. Oh, wait a minute.
That reminds me of the Shane Gillis bit. There's nothing scarier than you take any scary fighting force in the world, make them gay.
Yeah.
Gay Vikings?
Terrifying. Fucking terrifying.
Gay Nazis?
Absolutely terrifying.
Right when you think they couldn't dress any sharper.
Yeah. Make them trans.
To Shane on that.
Make them trans.
Now, on the opposite end of that spectrum, we have a grocery giant that is warning its suppliers that the supermarket will not be accepting tariff-related price hikes.
And this is?
Albertsons.
Good for them. I'd like to see all the fucking retailers do that. Go, you know what? We'd rather have nothing on our shelves than have tariff-priced items. Mm-hmm. So we're willing to take the fucking loss and close the doors. Fuck off.
Well, I mean, we're already starting to see some empty shelves, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean...
It's not in full swing yet, but it's starting.
Well, and they're talking about this summer having a recession. Now, Jamie Dimon said the best case scenario for all of this tariff bullshit is that you have a mild recession. Well, that's kind of like being sort of pregnant, don't you think? I mean, you either have a recession.
Either you are or you aren't.
Yeah, you either have a recession or you don't.
He's kind of dead.
Yeah, no. So I get all these people specifically.
I'm not dead.
I was waiting for that. Thank you.
Says he's not dead.
No, he's dead. Trust me, he's dead.
Oh, yes, he is. I think I'll go for a walk.
I feel happy.
Thank you. See you Tuesday?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, shut up. You're not fooling.
I get that they're all afraid to really speak up harshly. And I get
because then they're going to be ousted from
the circle.
Yeah.
And
you imagine a Trump movie done by Monty Python.
Oh, well, for as much as John Cleese hates fucking Trump, I would love to see that.
It wasn't Monty Python, but Johnny Depp did play Trump in a spoof of The Art of the Deal. I haven't found it or seen it, but I know it's out there somewhere.
Yeah. But getting back to what the problem is they're all all right. So not only are they afraid to speak up.
I apologize now because I am uncomfortably caffeinated, so I'm going to keep railing this right off the rail.
Okay. As long as I know, I'll grab you by your caboose and pull you back on track. But you got Jamie Dimon.
Oh, that was not my caboose, buddy.
You got Jamie Dimon, who is like Mr. Wall Street, and all of their lawyers are saying, you know what? Don't fucking speak up too much, because if you end up in court over this, all of the lawyers that would represent you have already been squashed by Trump, and we've talked about this. But now you got Bezos falling into line. He already had Elon in his hip pocket. I don't know where the guys from Google stand on this, but what I do know is that Trump Jr. is opening up this $500,000 to just get a membership to this club so that all these rich cocksuckers can get to Trump's ear.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. You're charging $500,000 just for membership. And here's the sick part. You ready? There's already a waiting list.
Of course.
I
promise it's not just a money grab.
No. Isn't this exactly what they accused the Bidens of?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Again, every accusation is a confession with these people.
Correct.
So, it just makes me sick.
And, of course, a Fox reporter, namely Charles Gasparino, says that the Trump White House is giving Wall Street executives inside info on tariff negotiation.
We already knew that when he had, what's-his-face, Schwab in the Oval Office, and in the market bounced back.
There were a couple other ones.
Yeah.
He made $2 billion.
Yeah, he made $2.5 billion today. He made $970 some odd million today. They're doing great. They're doing great. Fuck off. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it goes back to the Trump Jr. thing. It goes and
meanwhile,
and their meme coin.
American lost $10,000 on their 401k.
Yeah, and that meme coin of Trump's, they're pumping that shit hard.
At what point in time do the White House, or I should just say Trump and Blitzkrieg Barbie, both of them, at what point in time start referring to U.S. citizens as just serfs?
Yeah, that fucking.
I mean, we're not too far off. I feel like they would quicker refer to us as proles than serfs.
Well, here's the thing, though, is that if ever it takes a lot, in my opinion, to find a White House spokesperson, right, a press secretary, who has his arm so far up her ass that you can't tell who's talking. I mean, like that bitch and Trump, they make Jeff Dunham look like a fucking amateur.
What are the odds they're fucking?
I was literally just thinking that.
I'm sure something's going on, and if it's not, it's only because she's worried that she would lose out on the money. Because which one of you said that she's married to like a billionaire or a multi-billionaire?
That would have been me, and he is in his 50s, late 50s.
So,
Wow.
yeah, she's 27. He's in his late 50s. Good for him. Good for her. Whatever. But
I mean, she physically looks like she would be married to a mid-50s-year-old.
All right, so I'm a mid-50s-year-old. Fuck off.
Hey, I'm not insulting the mid-50s-year-olds. I'm insulting her for looking 40 when she's 27.
She does. But I really do believe that you can't
really
spew
quick,
all that
how old
bullshit.
are you, Colton?
I'm 24.
24. You were 56?
4, fucker. You knew that. Just trying to add. He's just trying to add, you cunt.
Literally speaking, it would be the ideal age that you would be dating Colton.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I don't like that thought.
I don't like that thought either. In fact, I'd like to thank you for. I would appreciate. I'd appreciate if you never spoke like that again.
I will be keeping my bussy to myself. Thank you.
And the uncomfortable silence.
Much like after their sex. And the FBI director posts video or photos rather
Hold on.
of the arrested.
Yeah, back up. I do have one more thing I want to say about the White House bitch, right?
Yeah, Nazi Barbie.
Blitzkrieg Barbie.
Yeah, Blitzkrieg Barbie. And now I forgot what the fuck I was going to say. Oh,
You're
all right. No. Before that, when we were talking about how insider trading, how dare they now ever come after a Pelosi? You want to talk about insider trading? I mean, Nancy and all of Congress are the kings and queens of it. Granted,
yeah,
we have all known that. As far as like, it's just
notice how they have not talked about draining the swamp since his first term.
No, they don't,
because they are the fucking swamp.
I think they realize that. I think that, again, what'd you say? Well, every accusation.
He lives in Florida. It's all swamp.
It's all swamp. All right, go ahead. Now you can go with the next story.
The FBI director posts photos of Colton and Steve. Oh, I'm sorry. The FBI director posts photos of arrested Wisconsin judges perp walk, possibly violating DOJ policy.
Look,
we were posted as public enemy number 1 and 2.
Yeah. All right, so I don't know all the details of the story, but the details that I do know.
Well, that's better than being public enemy number 1 going number 2.
Yes. But the details in the story that I do know is that the judge did not have him go out into the lobby, which is where these cops were, right? These FBI guys or ICE, right? However, she had him go through the jury exit. Now, they're allowed to make an arrest anywhere in public area.
Anywhere in the courthouse.
In the courthouse that's a public area, right? They typically won't come into the courtroom itself because that's just considered disruptive, rude, whatever, right? So they usually do it just outside the court doors if they're going to do that. However, she did have him go out the side door, right? And in doing so, he ended up in a public area, a public hallway, and then hopped on to an elevator that was a public elevator. And from my understanding of the story, literally rode down to the lobby with an ICE agent or two in that elevator. So what the fuck are they
going at? Are they going after her for like aiding ICE evasion?
Yeah.
We need to just abolish ICE. Honestly,
it's ridiculous.
The resistance liberals were right on this one. They really were. It's a terrorist organization. It's not in the Constitution.
You're not going to get an argument from me.
Yeah, I mean, look. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for pushback, you're going to find a lot of silence from me and Kiefer on this one.
Well, let me just go on a quick screed.
When this all first happened, started with the ICE agents, I went out to the grocery store, which was literally a 5-minute ride in Kansas. And in that time, I remember telling you on air, I saw 17 ICE vehicles.
Right. I remember that.
That's ridiculous. It's literally a fucking terror
We
organization.
had one drive through the campground we were in.
It is a domestic terror organization. Abolish ICE. It's not constitutional. They're cracking down on free speech. I don't know if you guys saw this, but now if you criticize ICE, you're on their list.
Oh, well, here. I tell you what, ICE, listen to this. You guys suck cock and you can go fuck yourself. Is that a criticism enough?
Eat shit and puke.
Yeah, is that criticism enough? Is it? Because, you know what? Come at me. Come at me, bro.
Feds shout La Migra.
Come at me, bro.
I just read before we went online about a story of a mother and her 3 daughters, young to preteen daughters, who had moved from Maryland to Oklahoma City. They wanted out of the city, somewhere cheaper to live.
Mm.
The father was staying behind in Maryland to finish out working and then joining them when he transferred jobs. And in the middle of the night, 20 ICE agents busted in their door and had a search warrant, moved the girls and the mother outside into the rain. They were in their underwear because they were sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Searched the house, took the money because they had cash. Why did they have so much cash? Because they had just moved. They'd been in the house for 2 weeks.
Again.
They took their laptops. They took their phones.
Terror organization.
These are all U.S. citizens. They were all born here in the U.S.
ICE are terrorists.
The people that was on their search warrant no longer lived in the house. They were renting and
You're kidding me.
had moved out. New people moved in, and they still haven't received the money back. ICE took the money.
Oh, yeah. They're not getting that back.
Evidence.
Yeah, they're not getting that back.
The computers, the phones. The mother wanted to have the daughter put on clothing outside because it was raining, and the ICE agent said, she can change right here. Now, mind you, they're outside.
Unbelievable.
And
Again,
the ICE agents laughed.
This is what we're going up against.
They said, we're sorry that you had such a rough morning, but it could have been much worse. That was their answer.
Okay.
Yeah, we could have seen you get a little twitchy and shot you instead.
Yeah.
So
that's a fucking threat. They're terrorists.
Again, people who listen to this, how much are you going to take? Like at what point do you go, okay, that's enough? You know, you had asked a couple episodes ago, Keith, you asked what it would take for, you know, us to create or to do a hate crime. I would ask, what will it take for people to actually fight against this administration?
Yeah.
The problem is we live in a dead country that is too focused on getting sweet treats from China.
So, not just that. It's not just that.
I think once that fully slams shut, that's when you'll see more discontent than you already see.
One of the tactics right now is we all know Trump says he's negotiating, right? There's actions being used against that currently. Namely, China going to these countries and saying, if you don't agree to a trade agreement with the United States, we'll sweeten the pot.
Yeah, we'll be preferential to you if you don't trade with the US.
Now, the tricky part to this is much as China could, you know, blackmail countries, they're not. They're offering sweeter deals.
Right.
No, well, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I forget what country it was, unfortunately, but it was an African nation, a developing nation. And when the leader of that nation was asked why they are trading with China more than the US, they said, when we trade with the West, we get a lecture. When we trade with China, we get a hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, look.
And quite frankly, who has more business, more production, more factories? The U.S.?
No.
China.
Welcome to the Chinese century, baby.
Well, here's the problem is that Trump does really, really believe that if he does what he's doing, that it's going to put him, the U.S. in a position where people are going, or companies are going to bring jobs and manufacturing back to the United States. But I hate to break it to you.
Thing.
I hate to break it to you, right now there's like 3 million factory jobs that they
10
cannot
years
fill because no one wants them.
10 years is optimistic.
And not to mention,
I've been told by economists that would be a generation.
yeah.
Yeah.
And not to mention, he killed the Biden Build Back Better, which was starting the process of bringing chip manufacturers to the States.
Yeah.
Again,
he killed that bill.
yeah,
He doesn't give a fuck.
Because he thought it was Doritos.
I straight up, I have no faith that he has a single principled bone in his body. I think he's literally just here for the fact that he was able to hype people up enough to vote him in again.
No, that got him out of his fucking legal problems.
Yeah, well, obviously, he's that was why he was running. He's hyped that he was able to hype everyone else.
Say he was running. There's no running for Trump. You can't. I mean, his medical file said he was what, 6'3" and 220 pounds.
Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Which Obama is 6'2" and taller than Trump.
Now, I will say, I heard it was an ambassador. I don't remember who, an ambassador to where, but they still have contacts. They were under Biden. And he was saying the European Union has completely changed face. We know this already about the U.S. and U.S. help with anything whatsoever. But he was very specific on saying Germany has borrowed now against their debt, basically pushed the debt ceiling for the first time in Lord knows how long, and said, we are going to start spearheading making NATO that much stronger than everything else. And by everything else, he meant the United States of America.
And BRICS to an extent, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But there's now an agreement between Germany, the UK, France, Spain.
Okay.
BRICS. There's word that
the
Spain,
the S in BRICS is South Africa.
Yes. But
Trump thought it was Spain.
Yeah, that's where I was going, Pinky. But so these countries have an agreement. They are going to spend. And what changed ultimately? What made this change start to happen? He said it was the 15 minutes of Zelensky in the White House with Trump and Vance.
But see, here's the
and
thing.
Vance grilling. You haven't said thank you once since you've been here, and which Zelensky opened with "Thank you, President Trump."
But here's the problem. Okay, Trump and the administration will take that as a win because all they've ever said is, "You guys aren't paying enough. You're not putting enough in the pot. You're not doing this." So they think that that's a win.
They will think it's a win,
but it's to push the U.S. out of NATO.
Yeah,
or at least out of prominence in NATO.
It's not just it's out of the upper echelon of NATO, but also business.
Yeah,
they're prepared to hurt the U.S. money wise.
They have to.
Business.
Look, they have to.
Yeah,
I mean,
so that's coming.
What he's done in his first 100 days is create a situation where it is literally Trump versus the world. And unfortunately, the United States is the one that has to pay the price with the black eye.
Yeah, we're in the crossfire.
Well, as the ambassador did say, this isn't an issue against the American people. They love the American people. It is the administration that they have a serious.
It's the same thing with Canada. It's the same thing with Mexico. They love the American people, but they hate the administration. But they also recognize that a large majority of the American people voted for this administration.
Now,
so there's a little bit
Canada.
Elbows up, Mark Carney.
Yeah. And I was hoping someone would bring up Canada so I could slip this in. There's a whole lot of self-deportation. You've heard about this?
Yeah.
All of the self-deportation. About 83, if I remember right, 83% of it has been students.
Yep.
Where have these students gone?
Canada.
Canada. Now,
Transfer your credits to University of Toronto or something.
yeah, there's Toronto. There's what, Brown or something?
Oh, I don't know. Brown's not up there. But you know, I mean, it's
one
not
of
like
them
they
is the Harvard of Canada.
don't. Oh,
Canadian Oxford.
A.
McGill. That's the university. McGill is the Harvard of Canada. Sorry, you have to say it.
Harvard.
Hamlin McGill. My
So yeah, McGill is the Harvard of Canada, which is actually funny because I've been outside of Harvard. We've driven by, and that's exactly how everybody talked.
Kite Harvard Yard.
Well, it was Hawk the Kite, Harvard. And
And hope you don't have a heart attack walking from the fucking garage all the way to the fucking building.
How you like them apples?
oh my God, I got a haircut last week. Or, yeah, last week? I don't know. Some point in the last whatever. But the lady talking sounded completely normal until she said, God. And I had to pinch my leg to stop from laughing. Because every time I hear something like that, I naturally assume it's a joke until I keep hearing it. And I'm like,
it's not a joke.
This is not a joke.
This is the reality of this woman.
Anywho, getting back to the thing. So the students that went to Canada, with the U.S. trying to promote that they're attempting to negotiate, they want countries to negotiate. What's really happening is that trade that would be going to the U.S. is now going to Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where the future education is going to be, in Canada.
And we're gonna be Canada's bitch in 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize, I mean, like, I think people are so used to the United States. I mean, let's face it. If you were born after World War II, you've never been in an environment or a country, and you live in the United States, you've never been in a circumstance where we weren't number one. Mm-hmm. So I don't think a lot of people think that this can happen. I think there's going to be a lot of people incredibly surprised to find out.
You know how many people are out there that actually think that Canada was involved in Vietnam, which they weren't. Spoiler alert. They weren't involved.
Not even a couple attachments. I was under the impression they like lent at least a couple.
No, I don't think so. I don't know enough about the history of Canada's participation or lack thereof in Vietnam, so I can't speak to this. But my assumption has always been no, they did not. So
I know about Canadian military history is that most of the war crimes in the Geneva Convention were because of what Canada was doing during World War II.
Oh, is it?
I'm not kidding.
And they're so nice.
They are. For as nice as they are.
You piss them off.
But that's it. That's it.
Look at their hockey players.
Piss them off.
There was one point in time, it was either World War I or World War II, I can't remember, but they were essentially, they would throw like a can of food into the German line, and then they would do it again and again, and the Germans were just like, they're just throwing food at us. What the hell is this? And then there would be a grenade.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what that is? That is Scotsman mentality.
That's awesome. That's what that is. That's fucking awesome.
No, they practically wrote the Geneva Convention because of Canada.
There's fucking lima beans. They got fucking corned beef hash.
Corned beef, yeah.
The American hat trick is 3 goals in a single game by the one player. What is a Canadian hat trick? Anybody?
No, I don't know.
Not sure.
Is it 5?
No. A goal, an assist, and a fight.
Oh, that makes
the
sense.
Gordie Howe hat trick is what it also was called in the Detroit. Yeah. But originally, it's the Canadian hat trick.
That's interesting.
I respect it.
Yeah, I respect that too. And like I said, that's the thing is they're incredibly nice people until you piss them off. And I think that's...
And it might take a lot to piss them off, but when you do...
It's the same with the Irish.
It's like Grandpa.
Right. We're incredibly nice people until you piss us off. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like people always, hey, well, what are you going to do, hey? They don't really actually say that. What you do hear
No,
them
that's
say, though,
the UP of Michigan says
What-
A.
what they do say, though, is, fuck me, eh?
yeah.
Me. Fuck me, buddy. What are you going to do? Fuck me, buddy.
I'm getting so much Letterkenny off of this.
Action. Judge demands answers on whether 2-year-old U.S. citizen was deported to Honduras.
So here's what the head of ICE dude, what's his name? Tom
Homan?
Suck my butthole.
Homan, right? Tom Homan?
I believe so, yeah.
He said that in both instances, the mothers said, I'm taking my children with me, or my child.
Yeah, which, to be fair, on the one side, if they were presented the option, I don't know any mother that would leave their child in a different country.
Exactly. So I think
But
this
that's
guy...
not really a fucking option, is it?
No. So
Well, the important thing here is officially the immigration status of the girl's father, mother, and sister is unclear.
Really?
Officially. Yeah, it's unclear. That is what the judge is having issues with, because the girl was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
See,
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it matters anymore. I think at some point they're going to go, it doesn't matter if you were born here. You're not, if your parents weren't legal citizens when you were born here, you are not a U.S. citizen. I think that is coming next. And I think he's got the Congress that will push that shit through. I think that.
Yeah, and that he would have to have them push that through before 2026, because if we have even a slightly fair election in 2026, they're losing at least the Senate, if not also the House.
I think they're going to lose both.
Now, it's important to understand that this isn't the only case. Notably, there's a 7-year-old who was detained while at an immigration meeting.
Yeah. Well, it's easiest to round them up when they're showing up to check in.
Yeah.
And of course, a 4-year-old U.S. citizen whose family and he were deported while he was receiving treatment for cancer.
Again, does that surprise you? I mean, let's face it. You've seen the attack against, let's say, just Harvard, okay? Not to mention these other schools, but we'll just use Harvard. And you've seen the funding, which
officially, Harvard has said, fuck you all. We were around before you,
right,
as in the country.
Right.
Yeah. Harvard is literally older than the United States.
But see, here's the thing with all that is that they're the only ones that have deep enough pockets to be able to go up against them, first and foremost. But it does not change the fact that while all this shit gets held up in court, we're not moving forward with cancer research. We're not moving forward
Harvard
with
is the 1970s refrigerator
that is still in the basement and still fucking kicking.
And if you get inside of it and close the door, you're locked in.
You're done.
It is eternal.
It is. It's that weird pea green.
Yeah.
Or the
one that Indiana Jones got in Indiana Jones 4.
And survived a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
Which, to be fair, that scene was not written into the movie.
No?
Harrison Ford ad-libbed that at the last second, like...
Oh, he just did that?
Yeah, he just did it. And then they added in...
Some of the greatest things. Yeah, some of the greatest things that were in Indiana Jones movies were ad-libbed by Harrison Ford for one reason or another. Like when he shoots the guy and there was supposed to be this great big sword. Yeah, it was supposed to be this big sword fight. And
I'm not fucking with that.
No, he was sick. He had the flu.
Yeah. Yeah, he was going to shit himself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not fucking with that. Bang.
A huge amount of the crew had food poisoning. And he was like, oh, God, I'm going to have to shit.
Yeah. Yeah, so, which is beautiful. That's what I love Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is probably one of the greatest American actor icons in my lifetime, at least.
Did you hear about, I know this is another sidetrack, but a group of hikers got lost in Montana.
And Harrison Ford found them?
Harrison Ford was in his helicopter.
Oh, shit.
Because he's a pilot.
Yeah.
And got wind on the emergency channel and found them.
Hasn't he crashed like twice?
Once that I know of, maybe twice. But that was in his plane. Not
imagine having that bar story of, one time I got lost in the mountains
and fucking Harrison.
And son of a bitch, Indiana Jones saved me.
And Han
Solo himself.
Yeah. I mean, what do you say? Aren't you? Yeah, get in, kid.
Let's go.
If one of his aircraft are not called the Millennium Falcon, that's such a wasted opportunity.
Yes, that is. All right, we need to wrap this shit up. So where are we going here?
Yeah, sorry. Really quick, I will say with immigration, one of the tactics that they are using is, in fact, they'll wait for the person, they'll detain them, knowing that they have an immigration court case, hearing, whatever. Let's say it's March 17th. March 17th, they have a court hearing. March 15th, they'll move them out of the district so that they miss it.
Right.
And now that they've missed it, let's ship them out of the country.
Yeah, they are definitely using very
that's how they're getting around due process is they're switching where they're supposed to be before the mail can tell them.
Yes. And one of the other tactics, they only gave the initials to protect the person, but they were detained while self-deporting. They were like, I'm just leaving. I don't trust this country. I am leaving.
Why are you wasting your fucking time? They're leaving.
They got onto the plane. They left the U.S. when marshals grabbed them on the plane. Took them off of the plane in the country they were flying to. Made them
Took them off midair.
They're lucky they didn't. They made them return to the U.S. Now, returning to the U.S. after leaving as an illegal immigrant is now a felon.
Oh my God.
ICE is not a terrorist organization, they would have us believe. Genuinely, I hate it here.
It's getting bad. You know what I mean?
I fucking hate it here.
Now that they are a felon, they've committed a criminal act, finally, having returned. They have no choice. As ICE will tell you, you just won the lottery.
I'm sorry. They returned under duress. That's bullshit.
And that's the thing is you would think that they would be able to say, look, I was self-deporting. I was leaving the country. They made me get back on a plane. They forced me back to the United States. I
had no choice in the matter. I was trying to leave.
And under any other president, that wouldn't be an issue.
The big question here is, why is this happening? Why would they make them return to the U.S.?
So they can prosecute them and make sure they can't come back.
No, there's no prosecution.
Well, prosecute in the sense that ICE, the terrorist organization, prosecutes.
Well, what happens is they are put in that private prison.
In El Salvador. It's a money thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about the money. And it's always going to be about the money. And the fact that we are paying for El Salvador to to take prisoners is absolutely against everything that I thought this country stood for, and definitively everything I thought the Constitution stood for.
As Carlin used to preach about, there was this little time capsule in American history, World War II, where United States citizens, you're of Japanese descent.
Yeah.
I have this nice camp for you.
Yeah, we've got this nice area to keep you, wink, wink, safe.
Yeah, and obviously we were doing the right thing by liberating the concentration camps, but throwing stones in a glass house. Yeah, throwing stones in a glass house. Come on.
It's crazy. Which, if you're familiar with Dr. Michio Kaku, he grew up in one of them.
Yes, he did. I remember him in, I don't know what podcast he was on, but yeah, it might have been Rogan. But yeah, he talked kind of extensively about that.
Yes.
Didn't the U.S. deny it until the 80s or 90s?
I don't think did nothing like.
I don't think that they denied it. I don't think they denied it. I think they just
downplayed it at least.
They didn't apologize for it until then.
Gotcha.
They didn't take accountability.
Can you imagine? It's the 1950s
They were camping out at Camp Chopsticks. Come on, people.
Can you imagine it's the 1950s, you live in Kansas, and you're like, a Japanese person, how'd you get here?
Yeah. The whole thing. Like, Bannon was right when he said muzzle velocity, because the fact of the matter is, shit is coming at us so quickly that even with three of us all focused on the news, there's no way to wrap your hands around all of this.
We can't catch it all. It's just impossible.
So, and each one of us, in one form or another, dedicates large chunks of our week to this podcast. We dedicate large chunks just trying to read the news.
I'm watching news via a live stream, granted, not through like a mainstream news organization, but there are clips from them. I'm watching news live streams a good probably 6 hours a day.
Yeah. I'm about the same.
I pay less attention to the news here, but I pay way more attention to European news because I want to know what
other people think. Yeah,
saying, looking at us.
Yeah.
Now I focus.
It's not pretty.
I focus
It
on.
is not pretty.
I focus on Twitter or Twix. I focus on mainstream media. And the reason I do that is because I'll bounce between three different channels, and I mean, all you got to do is say three different channels, and it's not NBC, ABC, and CBS. I could tell you that.
CNN, Fox, MSNBC.
Exactly. And I try to find the stories that they all agree on, or the points of the stories that they all agree on, because when you find all three of them, one of two things are happening. Either that's the narrative that is being pushed, or that's the truth.
99% of the time. It's 99% of the time, it's just that's the narrative that they all agreed on, because all of the mainstream news organizations are bought and paid for by the same people.
Yeah.
The narrative from Europe is pretty much, the fuck are you people doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I focus on news.
You were the United States of America. What the fuck happened?
What the fuck happened?
I focus on news live streamers and like YouTubers that are open about their bias, because to me, the most honest news comes from people that are not afraid to say, I do have a bias and this is what I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, but that's kind of the reason why we have all three of us. We're all attacking a different source or sources of news, which is why we're able to have these conversations and all kind of approach it from a different angle. And that's the problem in this country is that all
three of us have a different simulated reality.
Exactly. Exactly. Our simulated reality is all just a touch different. But the thing that seems to always come back around is everyone is going, what the fuck is he doing? What the fuck how did this happen?
Well, there was that short that I sent you the other day where it's like the market's trying to anticipate Trump's next move, and it's a dude like going to take a drink and then dumping it over his shoulder, and then like looking up at the sky and then tying his shoe. And
right.
Then, like,
it's just that kind of craziness, you know, and I gotta be honest with you. I do believe that we're living in a simulation, and scientists are, I mean, there's far more news stories about this being kind of thought of as a reality at this point in the scientific community. And I'll tell you why I think it is that we're living in a simulation. It only makes sense that when you do an update and there's a bug in it, that this shit would happen, right?
The update was Harambe killing that kid.
And ever since then, ever since Harambe,
it almost made Mountain Dew come out my nose.
But ever since...
Tell me I'm wrong, though.
Well, ever since the Harambe story, right? For those who don't know, Harambe was a gorilla.
At the Cincinnati Zoo.
Which ended up getting put down. You figure out your own details on that. I'm not going into depth on it. But ever since Harambe, everything has kind of gone a little fucking nutty. Because if I'm not mistaken, Harambe happened in what, 2015, right?
Either 2015 or 2016.
I think it was 2015.
I was in 10th grade, so it would have been 2015 or 2016.
and we're going to GTS.
We're
that
Googling.
shit.
Yeah.
So
2016.
2016.
Yeah.
Was it before or after Trump was in office? Does it say? I can't remember.
May 28th, 2016.
Okay.
Okay, so that's before he won the election.
Yes. And I'm telling you, ever since that, I think
shit just keeps getting weirder.
I think that either just when that happened or either just before or just during or just after Harambe, they did an update on the system, and there's bugs in it that we're dealing with all these years later. We're dealing with them 9 years later.
I'm not like fully convinced necessarily that it's like we live in a computer simulation, but I kind of fall into the Robert Sapolsky camp, which is like society and your biology determine way more than you would like to believe about how you interact with the world around you and how the world around you interacts with you.
Well, there's
not
definitely
necessarily that it's a simulation, but that like your particular brain chemistry determines how you like. It's his thought process on it essentially derives that there's no such thing as free will because your brain chemistry is different from my brain chemistry, even though you're my dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so because of that, you interact with the world around you a little different than I interact with the world around me.
I'm much more aggressive, I think, than you are.
Yeah, but I mean, a part of that is upbringing, a part of that is brain chemistry, a part of that is, there's all of these different factors. There's the societal factor. All of that plays into how your brain perceives the world around you and reacts to it.
Yeah, I agree with you. See,
and in that way, you could argue it's a simulation.
I would say that's partially correct. I think you get out of the world what you put into it. You know what I mean? Kind of going back to the Beatles, the love you make is equal to the love you take kind of view, and that there is this sense of evolving as a human being. But one of the things that you don't have that Keith and I do is both of us went through a very, very traumatic experience when we were infants, which was adoption. So we were pulled away from our biological mothers.
Yeah, my traumatic event was COVID.
Yes, yours was. But you were also much, much older and able to deal with it. There are things that Keith and I have had to deal with.
Very different COVIDs.
Yeah.
I was like,
I loved
this is fucking awesome.
If you remember, Colton, I fucking dug it. I was like, I don't have any traffic. I don't have any problem with any of this.
I developed anxiety over it.
I know you did. I was very happy with it. I'm like, let me get this straight. No one can come within 6 feet of me. And on top of that, I can say no to every family function that is put forward because there's a pandemic. I'm totally fucking in. But
3 years locked down, and all I got was this lousy anxiety disorder.
So for us,
can I ask what made you anxious?
For me, it was the constant fear of getting sick, and I guess part of that was the news playing up like, oh, this is very dangerous and deadly, which it was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not necessarily for my age group.
No, not at all for your age
but
group.
at the same time, there were 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old kids dying from it too. So, and it was partially that. It was partially the social isolation. It was a lot of things. But yeah, I mean, all I got out of it was this lousy anxiety disorder.
So like
the social separation. Oh, I love it.
I did too.
It's an excuse. Get the fuck away from me.
Like literally, if they said everyone had to quarantine again, I'd be like, woohoo, let's go, motherfucker. I loved not having to deal with people. And I loved being, when I was in public or I had to go to the grocery store or whatever, I loved the fact that I could go, motherfucker, you're too close. Back off.
That's it.
Basically, anytime.
We got to have a show where we create a new virus. We got to create an urban legend virus that's only fixed by social separation.
Oh, I love it.
Modelo virus. Honestly, when coronavirus first was going into the news, I thought it was like a meme. I thought it was like, you mean Corona the beer?
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
actually, I thought it was a meme.
But I guess my point is that I look at the idea of, that this is a simulation theory, I think I look at it a little bit differently, partially because of being adopted. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that Keith and I, every book that you read about adoptees says that there's this trauma that happens at separation. And I never bought into it. I never did. I never, to me, I was like, I'm fucking normal.
On a biological level, being separated from your mother that young, like your biological mother, whether you recognize it or not as an adult.
Oh, see, that's the thing is, as an adult, I can actually recognize it. I never recognized it up until maybe a couple of years ago. You know what I mean? I would say I was probably 48, 49 before I even kind of was willing to entertain the thought. And then I was like, oh, wait, that does make sense.
I think that repression of that thought is part of the trauma for it.
I think you're right. And that gets to my point here. But because of that, you can look at Keith and you can look at me, and we have followed very, very similar paths as far as being exactly the opposite of our adoptive parents. There wasn't much drinking. Well, Nana could put down a gallon of gallon.
She had that Polish liver.
She had, yeah. She was German.
The only group that can put up German and Polish, because Kowalski.
No, German.
Really? Okay.
Yep,
well, I mean,
German.
either way.
The difference is in whether it's an E or an I on the end. But it was German. And the thing is, she could put down the wine pretty fucking good, but
the Scots-Irish can put down the liquor.
Yeah, and that was the thing is if you look at Keith and I, we are identical in very many ways, even though we're not biologically brothers in the blood sense. We are more brothers than most brothers in the way that we develop together. So neither our parents smoked. We both smoke. Neither of our parents drank heavily. We both drank heavily. Neither of our parents were really big on the idea of performing. They would sing in the church choir, but that was nothing. That was all their friends watching them sing. Big deal. Both Keith and I had careers in entertainment. I was a stand-up comedian. He was in a band. Both of us have a absolute fascination and love of Irish whiskey and scotches. So there's got it. Oh, and most importantly, they were hugely religious, and we are both atheists. You know what I mean? So this idea that in any other universe other than a simulation theory, that two people 5 years apart could be born and be so perfectly matched to be brothers is astronomically weird to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I hope that they're right. I hope that this is a simulation theory.
And I hope we get another update and it fixes all these fucking bugs.
I hope so too, because that's the thing is I'm looking at the circumstances on the ground right now, and I'm thinking to myself, we definitively, unequivocally need a software update. And with that, that's another Elsie's Little Pickles.
Pickle porch protest.
Everyone go listen to Peripheral Vision by Turnover. It's a great album. I just went to a concert 10-year anniversary of that album in those 5 days.
Pickle peck, my bad.
Time to reboot, bitches.
How do I program this for $1 million?